Alone we are smart, together we are brilliant. This video gives a brief snapshot of the work of our teachers in this year's Learning Institute. Each teacher chose an area to dig into that would impact student learning in their classroom and in the school. Through time given, collaborative work with their colleagues, and opportunities to visit classrooms across the school, participants deepen their teaching practice. They also make new and greater connections to colleagues they may otherwise not have had the opportunity to know.
Well, my goal for Learning Institute this year was to really focus on rhythmic reading and that facet of music literacy. And the question I get all the time, even after 2 or 3 years of experience in band and learning theory and so on, students will see a section of music on the page and they will say, how does it go? And they still want me to say, oh, it goes like this, and clap the rhythm for them or play the rhythm for them. So I really wanted to develop a system and a sort of almost a music rhythm rubric where the students could understand what their level of understanding of rhythm reading was. So let's try it. Here we are, line 1, just to warm up, quarter notes only. Okay, you want to keep the foot tapping real quiet. It's like 1, 2, 3, here we go. And next line, ready? Some students they can follow this very easily as I do it on the board, but then when it comes to playing their instrument, so they can count, but then, and they can clap along, but when it comes to putting their inside voice and counting inside, it becomes trickier. 3 and 4 and. Okay, ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I've tried a lot of different ways over the years, and I think that over time, it's just developing my strategies and creating a routine. We pull down the screen so I don't have to write it out, and we do the rhythm reading thing, and developing a method. That's what I was hoping to do, is develop a rhythm reading method. And I think that I was a bit simplistic in my hopes that I would solve the problem of rhythm reading, because kids still go, but how does it go?
That's kind of cool, so they don't need the whole.
My goal for the Learning Institute this year was to look at inquiry in the grade 1 classes. And what that was is that I would like to see how children construct their own knowledge, their own meaning of the content in the curriculum.
Let's pretend
There was a few things that I was working at. There was some things that I had to work on personally. One of the things was to actually stop and not try to create their learning, to realize that kids come to the classroom with a lot of knowledge, and that by speaking, by discussing amongst themselves, they gain a greater knowledge, and that it doesn't have to be the teacher that leads that. Everybody's bringing their different experiences, and we don't all have the same experience, so it kind of levels the playing field. This year what we did is we launched the entomology journal. They have loved it. It's their own personal journal, and they have free pages to draw and to write into. It's for them to document their learning. So I don't say how you're supposed to use it in that way. So it's been really interesting because the kids have gone and they will take their journals and they will take books and they will start just writing or drawing or asking questions, and then they'll flip a page and they'll talk to each other, and then you'll see them yelling across the room, oh my gosh, Annie, did you know if you're an ant and I'm a praying mantis, this is how we get along together. We watched a bit of a video, and in the video it says, do you want to be an entomologist? Do you feel like you're an entomologist? And all the kids were like, yeah! So I think they're really feeling confidence, and they're feeling like experts. And isn't that the ideal? Like, don't we want kids to love learning, feel like they're learners, and feeling like what they're doing is valuable?
This year with Heather in the Learning Institute, I decided I wanted to incorporate technology into the classroom in a way to facilitate better lab understanding, writing, and sort of delve more into critical thinking. So what I did was I started using Google Classroom, where I established a class for each individual rotation. And I had the assignments on my Google Classroom, where the students could log on, they could download the assignments, so they had all the assignments at their fingertips, including the marking keys. And then through the Google Classroom, they could start the writing process and submit as they progressed. So it was really an independent and a self-paced program. The benefit of using the Google Classroom was that I could comment right on their lab and give them feedback almost instantaneously, which they could use then to improve their lab. So the idea was that this would help facilitate better labs being written, but that it would also facilitate better critical thinking, because I could pose more questions to them individually where maybe they only skimmed over a topic and I wanted them to delve in further, and I wanted them to think on broader extensions into different curricula.
I really enjoyed using Google Classroom because it makes it a much more easy way to get feedback from your teacher, and a lot faster for you to get more information on how to improve your learning.
Students that really embraced it would submit their labs 10, 15 times, and each time I could give them feedback on individual aspects, or ask them, I wouldn't tell them what to do, but I would say, have you considered this? And if you're going to measure this, how are you going to do that? So it was just me posing and pushing more and allowing them to delve and then answer. So the idea of measuring it for student learning was that hopefully I would see a positive correlation with the implementation of the program and their scores on the rubric that they got assessed on. And so far it looks like their labs have improved, but that's only one part of it, because of course there's so many variables with humans. It could be that I have a stronger class, it could be that I'm implementing it better in class, that I'm facilitating it better, it could be just that it's sunny out and they're happier. So what ideally would happen is to see that not only they understood the assignment at the moment, but that they actually learned for the long term, is to see them in grade 11 when they go to write a lab again, to see if they remember me dragging them through the mud and the details and the application that I made them do in grade 11.
Alice Through the Looking Glass. Here's somebody who chose Murder on the Orient Express.
I had a clear focus in mind as I started this Learning Institute back in September, and I decided that I wanted to learn how to set clear, specific goals, not only for year-long projects for humanities and for English, but also for particular classes. I talked to Heather a lot. I talked to my colleagues a lot. I went to a workshop on one of our professional days. When it came to having to make a decision about this particular project, I chose the classic novel study because I feel that it's something that's very, very valuable. To begin with, I start my classes now, and I've started off this project with what they're going to learn from it, what they're know and be able to. And there are elements for the oral presentation and public speaking. There are elements for the creativity aspect, which uses the other side of their brains in terms of how they're going to produce and present their assignment, and as well for the writing skills that they're going to get from creating this particular classic book talk. In addition, there's the reading element, which for many of the students choose novels that they never would ever read, and some of the results they've just blown me away. Here's this guy here did War of the Worlds, and on here he had an absolutely incredible Lego War of the Worlds. Just blew me away. I just thought it's one of those things as a teacher. It's one of those aha moments, you know, and your jaw kind of drops because you know that you couldn't produce something like that.
My favorite game was the Monkey Division game. I liked it because it was a math game and a fun game you could play on the computer.
So my goal for the Learning Institute this year was to create a website that would have math games on it so students could independently practice their math facts. And I decided to choose grade 4 as the focus group, and so I tried to find games that were tied directly to the grade 4 curriculum.
I used the website to help me learn my multiplication. I did this by playing fun games, and fun helps me learn.
I was hopeful that they would recognize that they were practicing math. I'm not entirely sure they were aware of that fact, but they had fun while they were doing it, and what we know from research in any kind of learning is that exposure and practice and repetition is going to help solidify the skills. And so even if they weren't aware of the fact that they were learning their times tables, they were when they were playing the multiplication games. So I asked them some questions about that process, and I actually even asked them for advice on what I could do to improve the website. They were very honest.
What I found frustrating about some of the games was that they didn't have instructions. I advised Miss Ritchie to add more games to Division and to add more challenging games.
One of my goals was so that the website would exist so that students could work on their skills independently. It's not there yet, and I'm not sure if that's because we haven't introduced this more than once, or if I'm maybe relying on these students to be more independent than they actually can be at this point.
My goal was to find some new ways to assess my ELL learners and let them be able to demonstrate their learning in various ways.
Why have you combined?
Because we have poor resources.
So together, do you have better resources?
Yes.
Are you close? Are you close together?
And we got a new one.
And you got a new one. Okay.
The first activity that I did with them was a role play, and it had to do with our unit on immigration and the settlement of Canada. And the students were each given a role card which told them how old they were, what their health was like, what kind of supplies they had, what kind of family they brought with them, and what they were given a plot of land on a map. And according to the map, they had access to a river or a road, or they had swampy land, or they were just in the middle of nowhere. And they had to figure out how they were going to survive.
Okay, why are you partners?
Because my land is right here.
Okay, and what does he have that you want?
And he have a lot of money, and he have hands, and he have a river going.
He has a river going through.
Yeah.
What does Jake have that will help you, Chin?
Because I am strong enough.
Let Chen say. Why do you want to be Jake's partner?
Because he's young and can be a worker.
Excellent.
The second activity that I did was a pictorial, they call it, and basically you create a 6-block chart on your piece of paper, and we were doing Upper and Lower Canada, and they did Upper Canada in the upper 3 blocks and Lower in the bottom 3, and they could write down information about the people and the rebellions and what happened afterwards, or they could draw pictures.
Then we'll just go through the Lower Canada. We'll mostly go for the Saharan people issues because it's the biggest issue that we have in Upper Canada.
Okay, yeah.
The British things.
So I'm hoping that those 2 activities have helped them see how there are different ways you can show what you know, not just on paper or not just giving a presentation. And for me as a teacher, it also helped because I now realize that in other classes, not just the ELL classes, we often have students show their learning in very similar ways. And being able to give them an end project where they can show what they've learned that year any way they want. It doesn't matter what way they choose, it's their own creative choice. I think students, especially with student-led learning right now, they love that because it is a part of them, and their personality can kind of come through in that.
My goal for the Learning Institute was to assess an integration of Google Classroom and Moodle to go as paperless as possible in the teaching of science, using technology essentially to present experiences that would help enhance science learning, but ideally automating the paper flow, or what would be the paper flow between the teacher and the student. The goal changed somewhat, part the way through the beginning of September or early October because I was presented with a learning challenge associated with the production of computer graphics and The Wizard of Oz. And to some degree that became another goal for the year, and a very powerful one in fact.
I am Oz, the great and powerful. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Actors would be right here on the ground, and the fireball would have to fly across the sky. Want to play ball?
I was the capture, so I was on this computer right here with capture, a capture program. Camera was set up there. We were filming a whole bunch of people. I was capturing it and organizing, and then afterward.
So the first goal was to see how well I could integrate technology in the science classroom using Chromebooks, Google Classroom, Moodle. And that connected well in the sense that I was able to provide a variety of different learning experiences for the students. But I have to confess that the second goal, this managing of the computer graphics component for The Wizard of Oz, became a very powerful learning experience both for me and my students. And as you can see from the student responses, I think they learned a lot of very important life skills as a result of completing this project.
This year, as part of the Learning Institute, Claire and I decided to partner up on this project where we decided to develop and implement a pilot project called the Academic Coaching Program. We set it up to provide the classic peer tutors with an opportunity to learn how to work with other students or their coachees using more of a coaching lens. We've been using it so much at the senior school that we thought it might be great to bring it to our students to see how it would work.
It was really important for us this year to create a program that was student-driven and focused on personalized learning.
And so what we wanted coaches to have was the opportunity to build their own growth plan, kind of like how we do as staff. We sort of were trying to implement some of the things that we felt have been working really well in our practice, so that they could build the tools and strategies that they believed most helpful in their work as a coach in their new role.
One of the best coaching partnerships that we've seen has been two learning resource students, Trent and Tyne, who are both in grade 11. And last year when they were in grade 10, Trent was struggling a lot with French. He hated it, he wasn't motivated, he didn't think he could ever do well with French. And Tyne came in and they made regular set times to meet, and Tyne had some great strategies that she used and a plan, and she was focused, and she made Trent laugh and get back to work, and it worked really well. And
before, I thought French, it was my least favorite subject because it was so hard to understand. I didn't see that it would be possible for me to learn anything new because I didn't even know what they were teaching me. And after that, kind of Tyne gave me the basics and a way to kind of I learned enough to communicate, and which is the most useful thing. So that let me actually learn more in class. There was the huge grade jump, which was pretty nice. And French, it's something I can go and I can understand everything that's going on in class, and that makes it pretty enjoyable. So I can kind of enjoy French movies now, and I'm trying to read some French books too. So it opens up a lot of possibilities for stuff like that.
One of the things that really impresses me about teaching at this school is the forward-looking vision that we have. And just the fact that I'm here doing this today, it just shows that I have something to offer as well.
Sir Ken Robinson says, most great learning happens in groups. Collaboration is the stuff of growth. 21st century learning needs to encompass faculty as well as students. This collaborative model builds strengths in teachers and in cultures. We feel fortunate here at SMUS to have the resources and support for this growth opportunity.